You are in a hurry and you barely have 10 minutes a day to allocate to your stretching or mobility routines. Maybe you have too many responsibilities. Maybe you have too many fitness goals and stretching is taking a backseat. Just because you only have 10 minutes, it doesn't mean that you can't have an effective stretching routine. So today we'll check out the most potent stretching exercises you can do if you are short on time. Hello, welcome back, my favorite movement enthusiasts, to today's session of mobility for people in a hurry. Let's go and have some fun. For every single exercise that we do, we'll have an easier and a little bit of a more advanced variation. So even if you're a beginner, you'll be able to step right in. And if you've been here for a longer time, then you won't be shocked if I start us out with some hip mobility. We're gonna place one hand on the ground, and starting from here, we're gonna start pushing our hips forward as much as we can. And we're gonna add some ankle flexion as well, meaning we want to drive our knee forward and pass our toes. Once your heel starts raising, then you know you need to work on that flexion a little bit more. Now keep in mind that the further we push forward and actively down towards the ground, the longer we stretch this muscle. However, if you want to switch from our hip flexors as the main focus to our quadriceps as the main focus, all we need to do from here is grab our foot and start driving our pelvis forward once more. Now we'll have a lot more stretch in our quadriceps and relieving a little bit of the tension in our hip flexor. So now you can switch between a hip flexor stretch like so and moving it down to your quadriceps like so. Between sets, sit back, relax a little bit. For every single static stretch that we do, we will always hold it for 30 seconds. And we'll go through all of the exercises once, and if you have time, you can go for a second round. So let's switch us from our anterior chain to our posterior chain, working on our hamstrings, our gastroc, our soleus, our Achilles tendons, and even our foot flexibility. Now, you've probably seen the forward fold in the seated position. Very amazing exercise, but we can make it a little bit more effective. We can start putting both our arms around our legs, and we want to bring our stomach into full contact with our quads. Hold very tight. You're gonna start extending and pulling your toes closer to your upper body. Now, the more flexible you are, the closer you can get to the ground without having to release your arms like so. And at one point you will be all the way down here. And now we want to raise those heels from the ground, pull those toes in, and let our head hang loose. Hold for 30 seconds and release the tension before you go for a second round if you have the time. Let's check out something easier that's gonna focus on the same muscles with both our legs and our back slightly rounded. Now start extending your knees all the way. If you're feeling a stretch in your hamstrings, for instance, or in your lower leg musculature, then that is absolutely amazing. If you don't, however, all we want to do from here is switch between spinal flexion, which is going to release tension in our posterior chain, to spinal extension, which is going to build a stretch in our posterior chain. However, one thing that we want to keep in mind is that we do not want to drive our butt too far backwards, because this is going to release too much tension in our lower legs. We want to add that stretch here. So try and move forward like so, and you're going to notice the more you push back, the less stretch you're going to have down here. The more you move forward, the more stretch you're going to have here. So you can play around with it by moving forward or backwards and switching between flexion and extension. So now we have the seated forward fold and the standing forward fold. At some point, you will be able to extend your back, get down to the ground, and once you're here, now we can start adding some dynamic movement, focusing on one leg, releasing tension in the other before we switch and switch and switch, which moves us up our body to a shoulder and chest opener. Starting from here, we're gonna try and pull our shoulder blades together in the back and push our chest down towards the ground as much as we can. We want to actively push down and pull our shoulder blades together and lengthen them through scapular elevation. Push that chest down. If you are really tight in your anterior chain, then you're gonna have a little bit of a stretch in your abdominals as well. Now, if you are too flexible to get anything from this one, put your toes on the ground, raise up and push down from here. Now, if you extend your legs, you're gonna add some stretch in your posterior chain in your legs as well. If you wanna focus more on your chest and on your shoulders, then we're gonna add the tiniest bend from here and start pushing down actively and holding for up to 30 seconds. Now that we have a lot of pressure on our hands and we require a lot of strength in our arms and shoulders, maybe you won't be able to do 30 seconds from the get-go, and then let it go again. Now, of course, there is one more level for this exercise. Drive our hips backwards and with a lengthened body, start and push down all the way once more into what's called a puppy pose in yoga. Now, this one is gonna open up a lot more, but it's gonna require a lot more strength, as you can see, and it puts a lot of pressure on our rotator cuffs. So if you are injured or if you can't take too much pressure on your shoulders, leave out the puppy pose, start with the other. We still have to work on our legs on the inside for our adductors, and the perfect exercise for that would be the cossack squat or the cossack stretch with our feet parallel and flat on the ground, and we're gonna sit down here. It's very important that you keep your feet parallel, because if you start turning them up or outwards, you're gonna release the stretch in your adductors and move it to your hamstrings. So this here is level number one. Feet parallel, bring your hip lower than your knee. Over time, this is gonna be too easy, and now you can start raising your heel and sitting down all the way into this position, opening up our adductors more. And once you don't feel any more stretch from this one, now you can slowly bring your knee down and sit your butt down all the way as well. Now you can slightly turn your leg upwards, but we're actively pushing out with both of our knees. Level number one. Level number two and level number three. If you have knee problems, for instance, or if you don't have the ankle mobility to stay in this position, we can use the horse stance for opening up our hips. Try and open your feet outwards and have your knees following your toes. Now, the more flexible you are, the more you can step outwards, and the more you can add a little bit of help with your elbows, like so, pushing your knees out, or with your arms like so, to stay a little bit more upright. And the benefit of the horse stance, additionally to adding flexibility in our adductors, we will build immense strength in our leg musculature. Now, you don't just have to stay here, you can also sway the tiniest bit from the left side to the right side, adding a little bit more ankle as well as knee mobility, or a lot more ankle and knee mobility by driving your knee forward and passing your toes without your heel raising from the ground. We're still pushing our knees outwards with every single sway, opening our hips, working on our adductors, and now we're adding ankle flexion and ankle extension. Now let us add something a little bit more relaxing, where we can hold statically for a little bit of a longer time, and that is gonna be the figure 4 stretch. Basically, left foot on your right knee, push your left knee out. With both hands, you're gonna start grabbing your leg right here. If you are more flexible in your glutes and outside of your legs, then you can start grabbing right here. And we're gonna hold for 30 seconds, opening our glutes and our legs, and then we're gonna add an additional posterior chain stretch on the right side by extending that leg and trying to grab our toes. If you don't have the flexibility to get to your toes, then grab right here. It's very important though that you pull your toes towards your face, so we add that stretch in our Achilles tendon. So we're gonna hold this like so for another 30 seconds, and then we're gonna release and of course switch sides. Now, I wouldn't have your best interest in mind if we didn't add spinal and back mobility as well. We're gonna start in the quadrupedal position, and we're gonna go through spinal extension when breathing in And spinal flexion when breathing out. The cat-cow pose switch. Now we want to fully flex our back musculature, especially our spinal erectors, and push our stomach down. And then we switch into flexion by turning our hands in, lengthening our arms, lengthening our shoulders, flexing our spine, pulling our stomach in, and pushing our pelvis forward, and let your head hang loose. Breathing in into spinal extension and breathing out into spinal flexion. And with the final exercise, we're gonna add some spinal rotation. We're gonna use our arm as a lever to push us deeper into lumbar and thoracic rotation. And try and push your upper body as much as you can into that rotation with your own strength. Be careful though to stay fully relaxed in your core, around your abdominals, so we can actually get into that stretching position and hold it. A couple of deep breaths. Push yourself deeper into that rotation. Additionally, we have a glute opening exercise here as well. And then of course, we're gonna switch it up. Left leg is gonna cross over the right leg. Right arm is gonna cross over the left leg. We hold the static ones for 30 seconds and then we release. And there you have it, a very potent stretching or flexibility routine. If you can put aside 10 minutes a day, or at the very least 3 times a week, you're gonna notice a lot of advancements in your stretching and your flexibility, which in turn is gonna reduce your chances of injury, increase your quality of life, and through that give you more time to check out more of my videos. Because sadly, this is all the time I have left for you today. However, if you like the video and subscribe, and check out other videos on this channel, because we literally have new ones every single day. So go check them out, and until tomorrow, Captain Cairo, peace out.